Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a junior cert student and you're aiming for that distinction in English, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're completely skipping the fluff. I'm handing you the direct, examiner-approved cheat codes you need to absolutely conquer your comparative poetry exam on Robert Frost, Seamus Heaney, and Wilfred Owen. Let's get right into it. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the comparative element. Then, we'll take a deep dive into Wilfred Owen. After that, we'll explore the cinema of war, and finally, we'll wrap up with strategies for mastering the exam.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, the comparative element.
So, the single biggest difference between a solid merit and a top-tier distinction is your ability to just zoom out. Examiners don't want you describing a single poem in a vacuum. They want to see you connect how different poets tackle the exact same themes. Organizing your thoughts comparatively is absolutely crucial. Take nature, for example. All three of these poets write about it, but for totally different reasons. Robert Frost uses nature and the road not taken as this simple, neutral mirror to reflect on a choice, ending with a quiet, kind of ambiguous sigh. Then you have Seamus Heaney and blackberry picking. He uses nature more like a teacher. It gives us these beautiful berries, but it also brings the rot, teaching a really harsh lesson about childhood memories and ending in natural disappointment. But then there's Wilfred Owen. In Dulce et decorum est, nature is completely corrupted. The soft woods are replaced by sludge and this deadly green sea of gas. His subject isn't a memory or a choice, it's a living nightmare, ending in bitter political anger.
And this brings us to a brilliant, top-tier exam insight. If you get a question on physical imagery, compare Heaney and Owen. Both use incredibly gross physical descriptions, right? But what's the crucial difference? Well, Heaney's rot, the fungus, the sour smells, it's a natural part of the cycle of growth and decay. It's sad, sure, but hey, that's life. Owen's rot, on the other hand, the froth-corrupted lungs, the writhing eyes, is an absolute outrage. It's an unnatural, man-made mutilation and pain. Spotting and explaining that specific difference, that is Junior Cert Gold.
Moving right along to part 2, our deep dive into Wilfred Owen. If Frost is all about the mind and Heaney is about the body, Owen is about the soul. He literally forces you to feel the agonizing trauma of the World War I trenches. Now, to snag that distinction, you've got to talk about the underlying mechanics of his poems. For instance, the very first stanza of Dulce et decorum est is technically supposed to be an iambic pentameter. You know, that smooth da-dum rhythm you usually hear in Shakespeare. But Owen intentionally breaks it. The rhythm is completely fractured and limping. Why? Because the soldiers themselves are bloodshot and limping. This is called mimetic rhythm. The actual structure of the poem physically drags, perfectly mirroring the exhaustion of those retreating men.
Let's look at another technique to see how he builds this tension. Owen essentially weaponizes the English language through something called consonants. This is the repetition of really harsh consonant sounds, specifically aggressive k, t, and v sounds. He uses these to make the reader feel physically ill. He's practically forcing a physical reaction out of you as you read the words on the page. Seriously, listen to how ugly these words actually feel to say out loud. Obscene as cancer. Bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues. Do you hear all those spitting, choking C and T sounds? You almost have to cough just to get the lines out. Owen is dragging you, the reader, into a microscopic, auditory version of the exact trench suffocation the soldier was feeling. It is absolute genius. So, what does this all mean? Why is he doing this? Well, Owen is creating a massive, heartbreaking contrast between the source of the war and the victims of it. On one side, you have what he calls the old lie, these high-ranking officials and older poets telling children that war is some sweet, glorious adventure. And on the flip side, you have the actual boots-on-the-ground reality, the victims, innocent youth reduced to beggars and hags coughing in the mud. Owen is furious. He's furious that the establishment is feeding these innocent tongues to such an obscene, predatory lie. Let's transition into part 3, the cinema of war.
I want to give you a brilliant mental trick for the exam. Try thinking of Owen not just as a poet, but as a master film director. He uses specific camera techniques to manipulate the pacing and mood for his audience. You can literally storyboard the poem's 4 stanzas exactly like a movie script. Stanza 1, that's your sluggish wide shot. We see a whole mass of broken men trudging heavily through the sludge. Then, bam, stanza 2 snaps to a panicked close-up. Gas, gas, quick boys. The camera zooms in with these frantic short bursts on one man failing to get his helmet on in time. Stanza 3,
acts as a flashback. It's only 2 lines long because the camera has moved inside the poet's traumatized brain where the nightmare just repeats on a loop. And finally, stanza 4 is a direct address. The director violently breaks the fourth wall, turns the camera around, and points it directly at you, accusing the audience of being complicit in that old lie.
Let's zoom in closely on that stanza 2 close-up. Owen uses a technique called the triad, or the rule of 3, to brilliantly escalate the terrifying violence of the gas attack. He strings 3 sequential words together, and each one is way more violent and final than the last. Check out the triad he chooses: guttering, choking, drowning. This is just a terrifying metaphor. Guttering is what a tiny candle flame does, right before it flickers out. Choking is that violent physical struggle for air. And drowning, that is the permanent finality of it all. What's so chilling is that this man is drowning on dry land. The gas has created a green sea, and his lungs are filling with fluid. It is an overwhelming, completely unstoppable force.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, Mastering the Exam.
When the examiner reads your paper, you want to instantly signal to them that you've mastered this material. The fastest way to do that? Upgrade your vocabulary. Instead of writing that Owen's poem is gross, say it is visceral, meaning it hits the reader right in the gut. Instead of saying he is angry, call the poem a polemical, a strong written attack against the romanticization of war. Instead of confused, use sensory derangement to describe the fumbling panic of the gas attack. And instead of saying the soldiers aren't brave, use the term anti-heroic. Dropping these terms properly proves you are a true literary expert, not just someone reciting notes.
Also, you must never, ever open a junior cert essay with a weak, boring introduction like, I'm going to write about dulce et decorum est. Banish that phrase from your mind right now. Instead, deploy one of these powerful hooks. For Owen, start with, Wilfred Owen strips away the romantic veneer of war to reveal visceral reality. For Heaney explores the painful transition from childhood innocence to adult disillusionment. And for Frost explores the ambiguity of choice and the stories we tell ourselves. These hooks capture the poet's core intent immediately and grab the examiner by the collar right from the first sentence.
Finally, let's quickly talk about the unseen poetry section. You will face a poem you've never seen before. Do not panic. Just use this rapid 4-step checklist to break it down. Step 1. Check the title. Does it give away the hidden theme, or is it ironic, like Owen's? Step 2. Look for the turn. Where does the mood shift? Find that gap between the stanzas where the emotion totally flips. Step 3. Spot the senses. What does the poet force you to see, hear, or feel? And step 4. Identify the tone. Is the speaker happy, sad, angry, or confused? If you run this checklist, you can basically decode any poem they throw at you on the spot. So you now have the notes, the cinematic techniques, the upgraded vocabulary, and the comparative matrix. The tools are literally right in front of you. The only question left is, are you going to let the old lie of a basic average essay hold you back? Or will you use these exact mechanics to walk into your junior cert exam and write a distinction-level masterpiece? Take these strategies, apply them, and go totally conquer that exam. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.